Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. We are coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda, and it's a half past the hour of 11 p.m. The slight delay is only because of that ongoing game between Real Madrid and PSG, and we'll continue to follow the events as they do come in this second half. Because PSG remain in the lead. It's a 3-0 lead. Therefore, the European champions against the record time champions of Europe in Real Madrid. Not the result we had predicted, but nonetheless, it is not surprising given the manner in which it has so far been displayed. I do not think any of us would argue against what we've seen so far. PSG continue with their dominance against all opponents they faced, and it's been no different tonight. In fact, they've only fallen short by measure of their own standards, not to have found the back of the net already in with other chances sort of squandered in their attempts to score more in this game. So, anyways, allow me to do the usuals, have our audience tested before we get into the thick of this conversation. I don't know, I seem to be struggling loading the page on my PC here, and yet it should come in handy. I'm really trying, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's what we're going to be discussing tonight as we follow the updates from the FIFA Club World Cup. Of course, we already know Chelsea are already in the finals. They are waiting for PSG literally to follow them to the final, which will be played, by the way, at the same stadium where we are at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, where we are having the semi-final. Good evening, Cedric. Thank you for joining us this early into the broadcast. I'm struggling a little bit with internet on some of my devices. I do not know why, but I hope we can resurrect our fortunes tonight. Dembele, Luis, indeed. I mean, they deserve all the flowers that they may get tonight because they've been immaculate so far, in as far as the sort of as this game is concerned. I take nothing away from PSG because they've really defended their backlines well. So in terms of the other opposing side, of course, Real Madrid have not created plenty of chances. So, guys, please like the broadcast and also consider subscribing to the channel. Can you eat a gorilla? Is that a gorilla? Definitely not. That is that Debatos? How do you pronounce that name? Apologies. I pity Mbappe, who left PSG to gain trophies with Real Madrid. Well, sometimes that's just how life works. When it's like leaving a place, fearing that it's going to rain, and then rain finds you on the way, or before you even get to your next destination. Sometimes it works like that. And in fact, as I was watching this game, I kept on thinking to myself, could major trophies continue to elude Kylian Mbappe? Because, I mean, we could see this PSG side continue to dominate Europe, maybe even next season, or maybe another team rises to the occasion. Of course, I don't think it's happened before where a first-time winner goes on to defend the title, especially in the UEFA Champions League era, because when you go back at the inception of the tournament in itself, Real Madrid, that was when it was still called, I think, the UEFA Cup. Then, Real Madrid won it sort of 5 times in a row. So I guess you never know. They could be the first ones to do it. I guess too much strong personalities in the same club with Real Madrid. PSG has now a stronger dedication of players to the team. Yeah, of course, because in that PSG team, if somebody asked you who is the star of the team, I think you would sort of struggle to give us what that name would be. because it's a collection of players that are literally matched in quality. Even when you look at some of the players that do come off the bench to come and represent, uh, I do not think there's one that is overly above everybody else. When you look at that midfield trio, Fabian Ruiz, Betinha, Jao Neves, basically all at the same level. And look at that front three, Desiree Doe and Kevisha Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele. Maybe you could say Ousmane Dembele has an edge, but I mean that edge comes with the experience that he's had, having played at Borussia Dortmund, Barcelona, and now PSG. So you have to factor that in. Maybe look at Marquinhos with his leadership in the back line and the leadership of the entire team. Again, it has everything to do with his experience. 31 years of age, he's the oldest player in the team. The goalkeeper in Gianluigi Donnarumma is 26 years of age. Dembele is 28. You look at, I think Fabian Ruiz is the other sort of experienced player. Vitinha is about what, 25? Jao Neves is 20. Nuno Mendes is 23. William Pacho is 23 as well, who is suspended at the moment because of that red card from the semifinals, as well as Lucas Hernandez. So you look at the entire composition of the team, and you do not see the sort of the star player, the standout player overall, because pound for pound, Achraf Hakimi at right back is as good as Nuno Mendes on the other side, as I know, pound for pound, because whereas Achraf Hakimi, in terms of his numbers, the numbers he does post, you find that he has more assists and goals scored in comparison to Nuno Mendes. I think that that takes nothing away from Nuno Mendes because of the way they cover themselves. Rarely do you find the two players that's Achraf Hakimi and Nuno Mendes in the box at the same time. Usually one stays a couple of inches, if not feet behind, to try and provide cover to the back line. So they sort of choose their moments when going up front, but they know for a fact that Achraf Hakimi is usually the usual suspect to go ahead. So really, if there's anything that we can credit the manager Luis Enrique for, it has to be helping this team to play as a team. Ever since Kylian Mbappe left, there's no single player that they come into the game and saying, we are looking at this particular one to help us win the game. Every ball we get is supposed to be played to that one, because Desiree Doe can punish you, Ousmane Dembele can punish you. Look at today, a burst for Fabian Ruiz. In one of the games that we did watch during the course of this tournament, I ought to be reminded, but you do remember Jao Neves is the one that scored a brace in that game. We've had a game where Vitinha is the standout player and he has scored on the other side. So really, on another day, it could be Bradley Bacola or Mayuru coming off the bench. It could be Goncalo Ramos that steals the show. So really, it's that kind of team where players on the bench, players starting, and look at the way they sort of do their counter press and defending. It speaks to that, they're playing as a team. And while the team they are playing against, if you can fault them, which of course Xabi Alonso is trying to treat, the sickness or the illness he's trying to treat is that individuality, the individual brilliance, to say, I'm Kylian Mbappe, I'm Jude Bellingham, I'm Vinicius Junior, I'm a man of myself, I'm a man of my own, I can, go ahead and shine over anybody else or over everybody else. So that's part of what he's trying to treat. And look at Rodrigo. This entire tournament is basically been frozen out in favor of Adagula. Now, Adagula is not the kind of player, as good as he is, that you would look at and say he's the one going to win us the match. And yet, in the last game against Borussia Dortmund, you remember that exquisite assist that he did provide for Gonzalo Garcia to score the opener, and then Alexander Trent-Arnold provided the second assist for Fran Garcia to score the second in that game. So Mbappe then, of course, came off the bench to score. But the way Xabi Alonso is trying to sort of handle this team is sort of, in a way, picking a leaf from what Luis Enrique has been able to do at Paris Saint-Germain. And I think in the long run, I think it will work out. But of course, players like Vinicius Junior and Kylian Mbappe, because of the personal brands that they have as players, it's really hard to take that away from them. It's not to say that he will change that, but at least he will try to teach them to play more as a team than individuals. I do not think they want to have a replica of the Real Madrid of years gone by, where you remember when Cristiano Ronaldo was dominating. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo is an outlier in this game, same with Lionel Messi. Then when he left, it became about Karim Benzema. That's when he shone the most. So, and that kind of thing. Hello, my brother. What is going in at Liverpool now? Thank you, Mariam Nalbansi. I kindly like the broadcast, but thank you for joining us once again this evening. It's a pleasure to have you back on yet another live broadcast. I do appreciate the time you dedicate for us. We'll speak Liverpool in just a bit, but we are trying to make sense of what is happening between Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain as PSG continue to lead the game by 3 goals to nil. And they missed a couple of chances. It could have already been 4 or 5 in this game. So, and yet we are already in the 74th minute of the game. So basically what explains PSG's sort of brilliancy is basically that. Peter Parker, what's up, my man? Good to have you back on the channel. It's a pleasure to always have you. How has been your day? What are your thoughts on the ongoing game between Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain? Do let me know what your thoughts are on that as we go on. Which underdog team shocked you in the FIFA Club World Cup? Maybe I do not want to call them underdogs, but I thought Al Hilal was one of the teams that really shocked me, having reached the quarterfinals. Then of course Fluminense. Now the reason as to why I do not want to really qualify them as underdogs is because I have not had the opportunity to follow them. I won't even say as much as, because I've not followed the Brazilian league that much, or South American teams that much. Of course, we keep hearing on the big teams, the likes of Santos, of course, Fluminense, Flamengo, Palmeiras, because European teams often acquire players from that side. But away from that, I really can't say that they were really underdogs. But like we spoke when I was giving my sort of predictions for this particular tournament, when I said that PSG will be the outright favorites, being the champions of Europe, and that Real Madrid, Bayern Munich will compete, but we will also have a surprise team from South America, and then maybe the Saudi Pro League. And indeed, it has come to light, because we had Palmeiras in the quarterfinals, we've had Fluminense in the semis, all knocked out by Chelsea, and now we also had Al Hilal in there. So I think they did the best that they could do in this tournament. Cedric says, all the best. You're already leaving, Cedric? Is that what you're implying? But okay, you say, I have to leave. Thanks for the updates and the accuracy of the info you share. Top sport journalist, as always. Thank you so much, Cedric. Although you had to leave us prematurely. Sorry, I can't stay longer. Need to prepare work due to deadline. Okay. Thank you so much, Cedric, for sparing a minute to be with us, even amidst your very, very busy schedule. I will wish you all the best in your work endeavors as you get things done on that front. Then I can see Peter Parker said, what happened to Al Hilal, to Fluminense? Those were some of your questions. Okay, I think that they did their best. If we're being honest, they did their best. You cannot fault them for having not gone beyond the stages that they didn't go beyond. Overall, I thought they did well. If we're awarding marks, maybe one of the teams I would say would be disappointed with would have been Inter Milan. But then remember, Inter Milan part ways with Simone Inzaghi, who came back with Al Hilal, and then on the other side, they had what's his name? Christian, sorry, Ivan Juricic, you know, sorry, Christian Chivu. Yes, Christian Chivu. So they have they came in the tournament with a new manager, and of course, it would have been sort of not ideal of us to sort of expect them to perform or to give us better results as compared to what they already gave. You look at, of course, Al Hilal knocking out Manchester City was, I think, the surprise of the tournament at the round of 16. I think that was the surprise game for most of us. Then, I mean, Real Madrid beating Juventus, that was no surprise, really. Manchester Dortmund beating against Monterrey, no surprise. Bayern Munich beating Flamengo, no surprise. Pyramids beating Botafogo, not really. Benfica losing to Chelsea, not as such. PSG beating Inter Miami, not a surprise really. So then when we go to the quarterfinals, Fluminense knocking out Al Hilal again. Al Hilal were equally just having a new manager who had been with them only a couple of weeks before coming into the tournament. Was it even a couple of weeks, or you know? So really, there's no team that you can really fault that much Peter Parker, if we are being honest. Let's see. I can see we have some chatter on the chat. Sorry, on the chat. Okay. Okay. Then I can see Alan Sick. Alan says FK, my mother. What, I don't know what that means. My mommy, love you so much. Would you like to be my father? Alan, not really, not really. But thanks for offering. You say sick Benin. Okay, I didn't understand some of the language that you typed. From my opinion, Cole Palmer is the best performer. Okay, if that's your if that's your view, I won't take that away from you if you think he's been the best performer in the tournament. Personally, I would argue otherwise. I would pick any of those PSG players: Vitinha, João Neves, Achraf Hakimi, Nuno Mendes. Really, they've been really stand out. Take nothing away from the likes of Moises Caicedo because he had an impressive game, but I think he missed the game in the quarterfinals, but in the semifinals he was quite brilliant. So Chelsea, even by the way, Pedro Neto, I think has been quite very decent in this tournament for Chelsea. So he's one of those standout performers in as far as the tournament itself is concerned. So really, we cannot take anything away from those players. Then you say because you are Paris fan and I'm a Chelsea fan. No. I'm not a PSG fan, by the way. Not in that sense. I'm just trying to observe these things objectively. Like I've said before, I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm a Real Madrid fan. But while I was giving my preview this morning about this particular game, my prediction was that PSG would win it by 2-1. Even though I had hoped, I would have hoped that my team Real Madrid continue to win. But when I assess it objectively, I thought PSG were the better team overall. So basically, that's what I'm saying. But as a Chelsea fan, I completely understand you choosing Cole Palmer. I'm not saying he's not been that good in the tournament. I'm simply saying I would judge those other players to have been slightly better than him because so far they played equally, almost an equal number of games. So there's not like this one has played more games than the other. But when you look at, but also for me, what comes into consideration in my picks is some of the opponents they've come to face during the course of this tournament. So that is another, another thing that I try to consider in this game. We're into the 82nd minute of the game, and it is still 3-0 in favor of PSG. I think Real Madrid are as good as gone. Then, so for example, let's rewind things a little bit back. Chelsea faced Fluminense in the semi-finals, who they beat by 2-0, thanks to Joao Pedro scoring the burst on his first full debut for Chelsea, by the way. Very impressive performance, him scoring against his childhood club. So let's compare Fluminense to Real Madrid. Who is the bigger team? Of course, that's of course, that's Real Madrid. Let's go to rewind things back to the quarterfinals. Chelsea faced Pyramids. Who did PSG face? They faced FC Bayern Munich and beat them by 2-0, even when they got 2 red cards at the tail end of the game. That's for William Pacho and then Lucas Hernandez. So, that's sort of the comparison with which we are flowing with. You go back to the only, maybe at the round of 16, you would say Benfica is a bigger team, is a much bigger team as compared to Inter Miami. I mean, we're talking about Benfica, who are European champions. I think they won that tournament back in 1964 and 65. Was it? I stand to be corrected, but around that time. So, so when I look at some of the opponents that Chelsea have faced in comparison to what PSG have faced, that's where I also take my measure to say maybe some of these PSG players have been better, slightly better than Cole Palmer. You say, bro, from when Paul Pogba will play PSG 3-0 Real Madrid. That's true. Hello, my brother MD Ashik. How are you doing? Good to have you back on the broadcast. Please consider liking the broadcast. But thank you for rejoining us yet another time. Paul Pogba, I'm not particularly privy to the AC Monaco pre-season schedule, but he should be in action because he has no injury, a known injury to us. He should be ready to get going as soon as they start their pre-season engagements. So we'll sort of keep, our tabs on Paul Pogba and see how his new career advances. Bro, did you say true about PSG 0? No. I said PSG 3-0 Real Madrid. Forgive me if there was a slip of the tongue there. I know sometimes those moments come. Like, for example, there's a live broadcast I was doing, and we're talking about Manchester United's interest in, I think, in Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Sorry, no, we're talking about their interest in Christopher Nkunku. And then instead of saying Christopher Nkunku, I said Oli Watkins, simply because he had been the player I had previously mentioned, because we mentioned Oli Watkins, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Christopher Nkunku, Hugo Ekitike. So I sort of mixed the name in there. So forgive me if I've had the slip of the tongue. Apologies on that, if that's what I did say indeed. But I meant PSG 3-0 Real Madrid. Bro, okay, so then maybe, by the way, Peter Parker, also, if we are picking players of the tournament, let's take nothing away from Gonzalo Garcia, who knew about this kid until this tournament, when, Xabi Alonso chose to give him a chance, and he's really, really worked out. Remember, only that they got knocked out at the quarterfinals, but William Estaval was really, really balling for Pyramids, and of course, he's going to be a Chelsea player. They signed him last summer, and he remained there on a season-long loan. So there's that one as well. So when you look at potential players that you could pick on, of course, those that have not advanced to the final sort of get the disadvantage. But I think we shouldn't take anything away from William Estaval. We shouldn't take anything away from there's a midfielder that is being tracked by Inter Milan. I'm forgetting his name. He's from one of those Brazilian teams that has been quite impressive. And so Gonzalo Garcia is one of those. So let me try to see if I can find the name of that player. What's his name? I'm really I'm struggling. Andy, also Inter Milan, okay. I was really disappointed after watching Inter Miami performance. Oh, really? I mean, for me, I can't say I was disappointed, really. Not really. I wouldn't say I was disappointed. When you get PSG at the round of 16, what did you expect of Inter Miami? Of course, yes, the player I'm trying to look for. I think I'm about to find his name. Oh, I don't know why. Why is my metadata not pulling through? But I do not think we should be really, really disappointed in Inter Miami. I think maybe Inter Milan, yes, but like I said, they have just had a change of of managers, and you really, really couldn't blame them that much for failing to deliver when you have your season all season long manager in Simone Inzaghi leave, and then you have Christian Chivu coming just a couple of days to try and change tweak a few things here and there. Wasn't really, really ideal. I thought Inter Milan also carried on into this tournament the disappointment of them losing terribly in that final of the UEFA Champions League. So I thought they still had that burden on their shoulders. So the player that I was looking for is Paramires' Richard Rios. Yes, he's also been one of the standout performers in so far. Sorry, in this tournament as well. Despite his team are not going, affording to reach the finals or even the semis. But Richard Rios has attracted a lot of interest from the likes of AC Roma and Inter Milan as well. So really, meanwhile, oh Jesus Christ, how bad could it get? How bad could it get? Real Madrid put the sword. Gonzalo Ramos gets himself on the squad sheet, and it's 4-0. I mean, that seals it. That seals, the entire discussion in regards to this particular game. But I can see kickboxing. Welcome back to the channel once again. PSG outclassed Real Madrid without a doubt. That's not even up for debate in every single aspect of the game. Defending wise, of course, Thibaut Courtois every time has did. In the opening 5 minutes, Thibaut Courtois made 2 important saves of the game. Of course, on the other side, Gianluigi Donnarumma, on the few occasions he's been called to action, he's really, really stepped up. But I mean, Bradley Barcola, the way he's done it to those, not making those defenders, literally before providing the assist, is just impressive. It's just impressive. Really, really, and that kind of space that Gonzalo Ramos gets in that box is one of being the key issues in that Real Madrid defense, and possibly I do think this should be reason for them to try and push to sign Ibrahim Konate rather than having to wait until next summer to get him on a free. That's what I do believe. Then I see Dangavan DK. Hello, I'm a big fan. Thank you so much, Dangavan. Good to have you on the broadcast. Please, I'm seeing you here for the first time, so please consider subscribing to the channel, but also liking the broadcast as well. But thank you so much, Kickboxing, for your input. PSG just scored the 4th goal. Yeah, it did. So apologies. My feed due to poor bandwidth is slightly a bit behind, but yeah. Peter Parker says, bro, what do you think about the new coach? Which new coach? Please be a little more specific. Do you mean Christian Chivu? Do you mean Ivan Juricic at Atalanta? Do you mean Simone Inzaghi at Al Hilal? There are so many new managers. Xabi Alonso at Real Madrid. Which one in particular? Dembele is unbelievable player indeed. By the way, for 2 of the goals that Real Madrid conceded, they were done by their own clumsiness in defending. The Dembele's goal, Antonio Rudiger fails to clear the ball and he loses possession. He was trying to play a back pass and he sort of misjudges that pass and it's short, and Dembele lashes onto it and he scores, giving him a highlight moment. Then you look on the other side as well, that goal that was scored by by Fabian Ruiz with Raul Asensio fumbling that ball in the box. So instead of clearing it away, he was trying to look up to see where to pass it. And he conceded possession in the forbidden area and they conceded from there. So Real Madrid knocked out, and this has a lot of implications in as far as this is concerned. So really, allow me update this a bit. So, but as Real Madrid are sent packing, I remember Luka Modric is going to join AC Milan on a season-long, sorry, on a one-year contract with an option to extend for a further year. So that deal should be going through. Massimiliano Allegri did say that they will expect him to join them in August officially. Of course, maybe he was speaking in reference to that he will have to have some time off after the FIFA Club World Cup. But I mean, also Xabi Alonso bringing Real Madrid up to the semifinals is quite impressive. I mean, this is his first major tournament as a new head coach at Real Madrid. He's hardly had a preseason to try and prepare this team and prep it to come and feature in such a kind of a tournament where you had elite clubs at Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, PSG themselves, and all these kinds of teams that they've had to face, or even those that they've not played along the way. When you have, Inter Milan, when you have Man City, when you have Palmeiras, Botafogo, Fluminense, Al Hilal, and all those kinds of teams. So really, I think Xabi Alonso also deserves his flowers, despite the manner in which they've been crushed out by PSG. I mean, we're talking about a PSG side. Remember their opening game, they beat up against Atletico de Madrid. Remember, Atletico de Madrid didn't even make it out of the group stages. You remember that game. So really, it was the PSG have been that dominant in this tournament. So it's easy for us to forget that they beat up against Atletico de Madrid in their opening game of this tournament by 4-0. So let's not forget that as well. Then quickly, yes, you say, bro, from what dates will La Liga start? La Liga, I need to cross check on that, but possibly late August. Yeah, that's when I expect La Liga to resume. But then, did I miss any comments? I hope I did not miss any comments. But we do expect La Liga to return in late August, possibly. Yeah, that's my expectation really. But for now, in between now and then, is transfers will dominate the affairs. But overall, yes, actually, it does return on the same weekend with the Premier League. That's August 15th. Yes. Now, August 15th will be a Friday. Of course, in the Premier League, I think Liverpool, the reigning champions, will be playing up against AFC Bournemouth. So that will be the game. But the La Liga fixtures were announced, I think, on the 1st of this month. But it is expected to kick off on the 15th of August. Bro, tell me some updates on the transfers. Yes, so we are going to transfers right now. G says PSG won 4-0. Yeah, indeed, it's game over. PSG advanced to the finals, and they will be meeting Chelsea on Sunday, the 13th of this month. So PSG will be the ones meeting Chelsea. Just need to confirm the kickoff time for that game, but it will be 10 p.m. East African time. That's at the same venue. That's the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So, like Peter Parker said, we should tackle transfers. So, allow me move on to the topic of transfers because a lot has been happening on that side of transfers. Do you think PSG will win the Club World Cup? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I predicted them to be the outright favorites for this tournament because of simply because they are the European champions, really. Because usually the dominant team in Europe, by the time you win the UEFA Champions League, usually in years gone by, although the context has been a bit different in the previous FIFA Club World Cup tournaments, I thought that they will be favorites for this particular tournament, and indeed they've not disappointed. So, do I give them the edge over Chelsea? Yes, I most definitely give them the edge over Chelsea. But football is football; anything can happen. You never know. PSG will do good, but 4-0. 4-0. Are you kidding me? Real Madrid is the best. Eh? Real Madrid in the best mode. Don't you know? Okay, it's the best team. Oh, I think I'm misreading that comment. I think I'm misreading that comment. I need to read it properly. You said PSG will do good, but 4-0. Are you kidding me? Real Madrid is a beast mode, don't you know? Yeah, of course, Real Madrid is a beast mode, but I mean, in any tournament, you can never discount Real Madrid because of their name. But now they are out, so it will be Chelsea up against Paris Saint-Germain in the final, and I think PSG remain the outright favorites. But a final is a final. Anything can happen in a final, really. On any given day, you can never know how things will tilt in as far as a final. For example, we could sit here and predict that, let's say, a PSG will be so dominant in the final, and let's discount Chelsea. And then 5 minutes in, we have a red card that changes the entire context of the game. And that's why you also ought to give Chelsea a side. Real Madrid was better. Yeah, you could say that because they won 3 UEFA Champions League titles in a row. That was in 2016, 2017, and 2018. Then they conceded the title in 2019 to 2019 was Bayern Munich. No, Bayern Munich was 2020, right? 2019 was Liverpool, and then 2021 was, of course, at Chelsea, and then they came back 2022, they won it. Then Man City 2023, then they came back 2024 and won it, and now PSG won it this year. So they've been really, really dominant in as far as the Champions League is concerned. Bro, which club CR7 will join? No, CR7 is not joining any new club. He's staying at Al Nassr. He signed a 2-year contract with Al Nassr. He will be there for the next 2 years. That's until June 2027. He also, in that new contract, he now has equity in the club, as in, so it's like he has a percentage ownership in the club, Al Nassr, because from what we gather, he's looking to invest more in Saudi Pro League football. It's a very, very lucrative contract, really. So it's really, really huge. And I mean, it does deserve it, given the kind of image mileage that he's been able to give the Saudi Pro League. I can't believe that Real Madrid lose. I mean, yeah, Real Madrid also lose. And let's not forget that because when you go back before 2014, the last time they had won the UEFA Champions League, I think, had been 2002. So, I mean, they also lose. And even because when they win it, but after winning the La Decima in 2014, they went on to be dominant. Of course, Barcelona won it the subsequent year. In 2015, then Real Madrid returned and won it 3 straight seasons in a row. Ronaldo, Nassr forever. Yes, he's still at Al Nassr. Anyway, guys, let's go on to the transfers because a lot has been happening today. We will start at Tottenham Hotspurs because they have already agreed a deal to sign Mohamed Kudus from West Ham in a deal believed to be worth about £55 million for the 24-year-old Ghanaian international. He did not want to speak to any other team other than Tottenham Hotspurs, where he wants to play. He's been at West Ham, I think, for only 2 seasons because he joined them in the summer of 2023. During that time when Chelsea and Arsenal were equally interested, they signed him from Ajax in a deal that was worth about £34 million. Thereabout. So Chelsea, West Ham are already making a profit on this one. So that's one of the key transfer news of the day. Mbappe left PSG will come to Madrid and also lose every single trophy. It's quite unfortunate for him. It's quite unfortunate for him. Then, so Mohamed Kudus will undergo his medicals as a new Tottenham player tomorrow before signing a 6-year contract with Tottenham there at the North London side. Then also in the course of the day, Arsenal made officially club-to-club contact with Chelsea over the potential signing of Noni Madueke. The 23-year-old England left right winger is a target for Arsenal this summer, but it is believed that the two clubs are a bit apart in valuation of the player, according to reports. Remember, the player has already agreed to personal terms on a 5-year contract with the Gunners, but the two clubs are yet to find an agreement on a transfer fee. It is believed that Chelsea want a guaranteed figure of at least £50 million if they are to let go of Noni Madueke, who they signed in January 2023 from PSV Eindhoven. Till now, Real Madrid doesn't eat a rice in their feet. Nice joke, Peter. Nice joke, Peter. So, anyways, and still speaking, Noni Madueke, because this was according to Fabrizio Romano. He said that Arsenal's offer to Chelsea for Noni Madueke is believed to be worth £50 million. That's in guaranteed fees and expected add-ons. Possibly, we do not know what the exact figures of the bid are, but I would want to suspect that maybe the guaranteed fees will be about 40 to 45 million pounds, with a 5 million pounds to 10 million pounds in expected add-ons, depending on the particulars. PSG are now in their prime. That is without a doubt this. But so yeah, so that's what Fabrizio Romano told us, that Arsenal's bid was in that region of 50 million pounds. That with a fixed fee and also expected add-ons. He said Arsenal have submitted an initial bid for Noni Madueke, around £50 million package, add-ons included. Chelsea want more than £50 million fixed, as a longer similar deals remain in reference. I mean, for me, anything above, actually anything above £40 million for Noni Madueke is for me an overspend. Is an overvaluation of the player. Is there a good player in there? Yes, but Arsenal should be negotiating a lesser fee, perhaps with a future sell-on clause. But for now, they are taking a huge risk on Noni Madueke. I mean, it's a bet. All transfers are a bet, but Noni Madueke, £50 million. I mean, of course, and this is what I keep saying, guys. Every time a club overpays for a player, it affects how subsequent business is done. For example, let's start with Man United. They signed Matthias Cunha for £62.5 million. I'm not saying they overpaid, but because that was a release clause. Do you know what Brentford did? Brentford used that as the benchmark for setting the valuation for Brian Mbeumo, which they set to £70 million. But they are willing to accept a fee in the region of £65 million. Then you look at Liverpool paying £100 million in guaranteed fees for Florian Wirtz. That is going to really affect the market in Germany. We all know Arsenal have been trying to sign Benjamin Sesko, and RB Leipzig are not willing to budge on their €90 million asking price for Benjamin Sesko. Apologies, people. Apologies, people. My network collapsed. I do not know where you last had me, but apologies. I had a network disruption. But anyways, was speaking about the valuation of players, because Chelsea want in the excess of £50 million for Noni Madueke, and they are using Anthony Elanga, and we are going to get that. And as just in reference to the case of Man United, because they are being overpriced on Brian Mbeumo simply because they paid the release clause of £62.5 million for Matthias Cunha. And according to Brentford, they think Brian Mbeumo is possibly a better player than Matthias Cunha, if numbers are anything to go by, because one had a 21 overall ball involvement last season, while the other had 27. in comparison. So one is 26 years of age, one is 25. So really, that is what happened. Then we went to Benjamin Sesko because Liverpool paid £100 million for Florian Wirtz. RB Leipzig are saying they are not budging on their €90 million asking fee for Benjamin Sesko, who only scored, by the way, 13 goals and provided, I think, 5 assists in the course of last season. So really, then you bring it to the same context here, that Anthony Elanga is joining Newcastle from Nottingham Forest. He did complete his medicals, by the way, today successfully. Anthony Elanga, upon completing the move from Nottingham Forest to Newcastle, Newcastle have agreed to pay at least £52 million as guaranteed fees, plus £3 million in expected add-ons, which makes the deal worth about £55 million. So Chelsea are now using that Anthony Elanga deal as a benchmark to set a price tag for Noni Madueke. And we're talking about it, a Chelsea side that has just recently paid £55 million for João Pedro from Brighton and Hove Albion. They are looking to sort of offset that exact pay, and that's what they are looking for in Noni Madueke, because they are paying 60 to Brighton, but the guaranteed fees is 55. The other is expecting add-ons. Then the same Chelsea side have paid 48 points, around £2 million to sign Jamie Gittens from actually it's 48.5 million pounds from Borussia Dortmund in Jamie Gittens, only 20 years of age, and with I think 3.5 million pounds in expected add-ons. Guess what? That total adds up to about 52 million pounds. So again, they are looking for a similar fee to offset one of the transfers they've already made. That's what they think they are trying to. That's what I think they are trying to do. They're trying to be smart with that business. First of all, let's not forget, while Chelsea are willing to sell, they are not desperate to move on Noni Madueke. But I think this transfer is in the best interest of Noni Madueke than it is for Arsenal, than it is for Chelsea. It is a desired transfer for Arsenal because they need a backup player for Bukayo Saka. Arsenal fans have been calling for that one. However, Arsenal fans do not like the choice that Arsenal have made in choosing Noni Madueke for a backup for Bukayo Saka. But that's a whole different debate, because I've seen, unfortunately, some abuse, some Arsenal fans going on to inbox Noni Madueke to say, do not come to our club. Whenever you touch the ball, we will boo you, and things of that nature. And some, and of course, the racial slurs, those ones never miss. But is it Noni Madueke's fault? It's not. It's not. It's Arsenal that have made the decision to say we'll be moving in for Noni Madueke. So, and the only reason, by the way, the decision in itself is unpopular is because, one, the player is coming from Chelsea. It has little to do with the qualities of the player or the potential of the player, but more to do with where he is coming from. Two, Arsenal fans also have a school of thought, which I agree with to a certain extent, that in Arsenal, going to Chelsea to buy their players, they are sort of arming Chelsea to go and better their squad, and possibly in a year or two they'll be rivaling Arsenal for the title, maybe before even Arsenal win the Premier League title and the UEFA Champions League. So you're basically equipping your opponent in a way to do better with their transfer business. So there's that school of thought, but at least that's what we know in regards to the deal for Noni Madueke. Bro, what do you think? What will be the best tactics for Real Madrid? Again, from what we've seen, okay, let's retreat back a little to Real Madrid. From what we've seen in the course of this tournament, Xabi Alonso has tested out malformations. For example, today he came in the shape of what appeared to be a 4-4-2 with Kylian Mbappe and Gonzalo Garcia up front, Adagula, of course, on the right wing, then Vinicius Junior on the left wing, and then Aurelio Tchouameni and Jude Bellingham in that double pivot sort of role, with then, of course, a back four of Antonio Rudiger, Fede Valverde, Tchouameni, Raul Asensio, and then Fran Garcia. So you look at that. You look at that composition, and it's contrary from what we had seen before, because at some point he also played with the back three with wing backs. That's Fran Garcia and Alexander Arnold, while the back three was of Aurelio Tchouameni, Rudiger, and Dinhausen. But remember, Dinhausen received the red card in their last game. That's as they beat up against Borussia Dortmund. So he was eligible for selection tonight. And then, so he sort of tested out multiple things during the course of this tournament. He's been using this tournament, as serious as it was, as a precursor, as his pre-season kind of, preparation to say, I will test things out. I'll give these kinds of player a bit more playing time to see how they do fare. Remember, Adagula did tell us that he wants him to have more time on the ball, to play more as an attacking midfielder as opposed to being playing on the flanks. But also, he can deploy him on the right wing, where at one point he also deployed Jude Bellingham to play there. So he's been trying out multiple things. But also, this tournament has shown us that maybe Rodrigo's future at Real Madrid is not a priority in terms of the manager's thinking. If he's counting on a couple of players as primary starters in that team, then Rodrigo Goes is not one of them. And the reason for that, by the way, is the same reason objective Arsenal fans could have reservations for Rodrigo Goes. Is he a talented player? Without a doubt. Is he capable of adding something to Arsenal and elevating them to the next level? Possibly. But because of how he plays his game, that he doesn't track back, he doesn't do the whole teamwork of tracking back very often or quite well, is the reservation that Arsenal fans have about Rodrigo Goes. And yet Xabi Alonso are pretty much like Enzo Maresca, pretty much like Luis Enrique, are pretty much like Mikel Arteta. They want their teams to work as a whole. When you lose the ball, it doesn't matter who has lost it, all go in and press and try and win that ball back. And yet, Rodrigo Goes is a bit reluctant in that. But I also made the counter argument to say that let's not forget that many teams have always played with that kind of player who is not really, really good with the counter press to try and fight for the ball back. Remember, prime Joan Manuel Mata at Chelsea and eventually at Man United, he was that kind of player. You remember Mesut Ozil at Real Madrid and at Arsenal. He was not a player you would tell, we've lost the ball, go and do the counter press. Not that he wouldn't do it sometimes, but he was not that, well invested in it. Go to Liverpool last season. How Arne Slot was able to get the best out of Mo Salah for him to score 28 goals and 29 goals and provide 18 assists, basically was that to spare him from doing these counter presses, but to save his energy, to try and reserve his energy for a moment, to do the burst plan and find himself in the final third and score that goal. So you can't play with that kind of player who is not really, really good at winning the ball back once it is lost, especially in the first third of the game. So that means whenever you do not have the ball, you're practically a man less. So you work with a composition of 9 players. But when you have the ball, that player is capable of taking on 1, 2, 3 players and probably take them out of the game, and he gives you the advantage numerically when you're in the offense. So he is that kind of profile. But we'll wait and see how Real Madrid handle that situation over Rodrigo Goes, but he could leave Real Madrid, and Liverpool could be interested, could look at him, because there's a lot of murmurings about Luis Diaz's future with Liverpool. So, but before, actually, let me use the same opportunity to answer Mariam Nalmasi. I do not know if she's been able to stay with us until this point in time, but she did ask for an update on Liverpool. Now, the situation at Liverpool is, one, they want to sign a left winger, but they also want to sign a striker. Among the strikers, they're really, really interested in Hugo Ekitike, is their primary target, but we also know about their interest in Alexander Isak, although it's looking a bit unlikely that Alexander Isak will leave Newcastle this summer. And that's why Arsenal, who are equally interested in Alexander Isak, shifted their priorities to Benjamin Sesko and eventually Victor Gyökeres. So now, Napoli are pursuing Darwin Núñez from Liverpool, and Liverpool are expecting to move on the 26-year-old European international and then find a replacement in Hugo Ekitike for a striker. 2, Luis Diaz. Bayern Munich came in for him. They wanted to sign him. Liverpool said no to those attempts. Barcelona came in for him, were the first, and Liverpool said no. Bayern Munich also came in. Liverpool said no. We know this Al Nassr are interested, although they've not, firmed up their interest with formal approaches to Liverpool, but we know there's been interest there. Now, Liverpool has told all potential suitors, Luis Diaz is not for sale. Now, the player, while on international duty, immediately after the season, he did acknowledge that his representatives, that they were speaking to a couple of clubs because he still has 2 years left to his current contract, and Liverpool have not yet engaged him on any new contract talks. Now, he did say at the time that he is happy at Liverpool and the way he is being treated, and should that remain the case, he will see out the remainder of his contract. But remember, a day in a transfer window can be a very, very long day. It's more like a day in politics. It can be a very long day. So we are getting reports from Colombia that apparently Luis Diaz has told Liverpool that if they are not to engage him into new contract talks, which he is very open to, then they should consider letting him go because he has interest from Barcelona, he has interest from Bayern Munich. And from what we do gather as well is that his priority would be to join Barcelona. But remember, we've explained the situation between Liverpool and Barcelona before because it came off as a bit disrespectful when Deco outrightly mentioned that they were interested in Luis Diaz as well as Marcus Rashford, that in their search for a winger. So possibly that's why Liverpool were quick to tell Barcelona we're not interested in entertaining the conversation. Now, in the wake of Barcelona missing out on Nico Williams, now you can see how the story gets longer. In the wake of Barcelona missing out on Nico Williams, who has since renewed his contract with Atletico Bilbao until June 2035 and has had his release clause increased from 58 million euros to possibly 95 to 100 million euros, Barcelona are considering the option of revisiting their interest in Luis Diaz. Now, should that fail, apparently they could turn their attention to Marcus Rashford. Now, remember, Marcus Rashford is also willing to take a pay cut to join Barcelona. He's really, really interested. However, also latest reports indicate that Barcelona could opt to as well go for Manchester United's Alejandro Garnacho, who is expected to leave the club this summer. Now, you can imagine what that would make Marcus Rashford feel, that Barcelona would go at Man United and choose Alejandro Garnacho over him. One is 20 years of age, the other is 27 years of age. Of course, Marcus Rashford, way more experienced. So that's the bit of context around Liverpool. But so if Liverpool, and remember, Bayern Munich have considered also possibly the possibility of signing Cody Gakpo from Liverpool, although I do not think Liverpool will be willing to let him go as well. Now, let's make an assumption that Darwin Núñez leaves and joins Napoli because the two clubs are already in negotiations for the transfer of Darwin Núñez, and then somehow Liverpool said to themselves, okay, we're not willing to entertain contract talks at this stage because you're 28 years of age. We do not know what's going to happen in the next 1 year, but we are willing to let you go to any club other than Barcelona. Let's assume he eventually ends up at Bayern Munich, which is equally a very decent club. That means Liverpool will be back in the transfer market looking for, at least 1, 2, or 3 attacking players already. So that means, and reports do indicate that Liverpool could go in for Rodrigo Goes because they are keeping tabs on that situation. Then the other player that they are considering is Anthony Gordon, who has equally been linked with the potential move to Arsenal as well. Now, Anthony Gordon is at Newcastle. Possibly Newcastle wouldn't want to sell. But remember, last summer, Anthony Gordon almost joined Liverpool. So we cannot rule that out. The player could wake up and say, playing for Liverpool, that has always been a dream. I wish to leave. And suddenly, while Newcastle wouldn't be interested in selling, they're like, instead of staying with an unhappy player, we could as well move him on and go attack the market. So that's the situation around Liverpool and their pursuit to find a left winger, but also the situation revolving around Luis Diaz and their pursuit for a striker. So we've spoken about Muhammad Kudus, we've spoken about Noni Madueke. Then the other key player that has been involved in the transfer during in the last couple of days is Simon Adingra. He is joining Sunderland from Brighton and Hove Albion. You remember He was the young player of the year for the AFCON 2023 that was played in 2024 in Ivory Coast. That's Simon Adingwa. So that one is on his way to Sunderland. Sunderland are really, really making some quite big moves in the transfer window. Then Everton did confirm the signing of Yoem Barry from Villarreal. That deal is done and dusted. He was unveiled as a new Everton player. Then, of course, then in regards to transfers as well, Matteo Retegui, yes, the 26-year-old Italian striker from Atlanta is going to join Al Qadash, because Al Qadash are going to pay, I think, a fee of about 60 million euros are there to complete the transfer. So that deal is on. That deal is on for him to join Al Qadash. It's a 65 million euro package for him. Then the other key news, this is not transfer related, but it revolves around former Real Madrid manager in Carlo Ancelotti. He has been, he has been convicted for tax fraud in Spain. Yes, he's the current, head coach at the Brazilian national team, and he has been sentenced to 1 year in prison. He has been sentenced to a 1 year term in prison for tax fraud for having failed to pay taxes on his image rights back in 2014 when he was the manager or the head coach at Real Madrid. Now, usually when they give you a 1 year sentence, especially for people in these categories or in those caliber, usually it's a suspended prison sentence. That means you do not actually get to go to prison, but you see it out of prison, and then you work out a way of paying your fines or whatever they are to the tax authorities in Spain. So that is there as well. Then, of course, the other news also is regarding Manchester United, because Manchester United apparently are looking to appoint a head of senior recruitment. So they are working with consultant sportsology on a key hire to revamp their department. Plus, reports also indicate that that person will be reporting to the director of recruitment. That's Christopher Vilvel. I hope I pronounce his name well. And then they are also looking to recruit regional heads of emerging talents that will be also hired. Now, Man United, how do you get to this stage in the transfer window and suddenly you're recruiting a head of senior recruitment in a crucial transfer window and in the middle of it? I think that's a bit short-sighted. But also, let's not forget, they have a football director in Jason Wilcox, recently promoted from, I think, technical director, possibly the request for technical director. I do not know just yet. But I mean, you have all these people that are already involved in transfers. Is Man United, I mean, let's not forget, the pathways with, what's his name? The former Newcastle sporting director, just 5 months into the job. I mean, sometimes it begs a question, and you do wonder what's really, really going on at Man United. But it is what it is. I will continue to follow those updates on that front. Then Bournemouth did submit their official bid to Chelsea to try and sign Jody Petrovic. That's the goalkeeper. It's understood that Chelsea want a fee of about 30 million euros to let go of the goalkeeper. Now, of course, Chelsea are looking to trim their squad, and they're looking to let go of a significant number of players, including the likes of Raheem Sterling, João Felix, Trevor Chalobah, not Trevor Chalobah, Axel Disasi, who is attracting interest from Villarreal in Spain. So we will keep tabs on that situation as well. So now, again, Bournemouth are only trying to hijack this deal because Sunderland had an agreement in principle, had agreed a deal in principle to sign the goalkeeper. But then once Bournemouth learned of the situation, they jumped in. Excuse me. they jumped in to try and hijack the deal, and indeed they submitted their new offer, sorry, their official bid to Chelsea to sign the goalkeeper. Remember, they did not sign Kepa Arrizabalaga, who was their number one goalkeeper last season, on loan from Chelsea. So that deal is also boiling over there. Then Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is said to be a free agent after leaving Al Qadash in the Saudi Pro League. Then we spoke about Simon Adingra. Now, the transfer fee for Simon Adingra is about 21 million euros. Yes, plus some expected add-ons. There, that's the expectation for Simon Adingra making the transfer from Brighton to Sunderland. 21 million euros plus 3 million euros in expected add-ons. Now, Manchester United are interested in also Brighton is Carlos Baleba. Now, that's the holding midfielder. So let's keep an eye on that situation as well. Although Man United seem to be dragging their feet on making transfers in terms of outgoings and incomings. However, the Red Devils do remain confident that they will get a deal done possibly for Brian Mbeumo before they set up for their US tour, pre-season tour. So let's keep eyes on that situation as well. Then Jordan Henderson, the former Liverpool captain, is set to leave Ajax as he becomes a free agent. Remember, Sunderland is one of the teams that are interested in taking him back. He joined Liverpool from Sunderland years gone by. Then Olympic Lyon will not be relegated to League Two. That's after they won their appeal to stay in League One. They did show the officials that's in charge of League One that they do have money in their accounts to take care of their finances. So remember, they've sold off some players, including Ryan Cherki, who's gone to Manchester City. Then what other key transfer have we not mentioned really? Because there's lots of transfers that are happening across Europe, of course, but we get to mention the ones that are making the most headlines. So that's where we usually have our focus. But every time there's something interesting from elsewhere, we won't hesitate to mention that as well. Of course, we know the situation around Victor Gyökeres. Arsenal and Sporting Lisbon are yet to agree on a transfer fee for Victor Gyökeres. The 27-year-old has told the club he is not returning for pre-season or whatsoever. All he wants is a move to Arsenal. And we will keep eyes on that situation and see. We do know that during the course of this week, Andrea Bata, the Arsenal sporting director, traveled to Portugal to try and seal the deal, but looks like they still not yet an agreement for him. Then Man City value James McAtee at about 20 to 25 million pounds for those interested in him, with clubs in Germany, clubs in Spanish La Liga, as well as the Premier League interested in signing the England international, who was part of their under 21 Euro winning side. So I think they beat Germany in the finals. Then Como have reached an agreement tonight with Manchester City to sign Maximo Perrone. It's a here we go. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. The midfielder stays and signs a permanent deal from Manchester City for 13 million euros. Remember, we did tell you earlier on this summer that apparently Como are willing to spend up to 80 to 100 million euros. That's to back their manager in Francesco Fabregas when it comes to transfer business, as they look to build a very, very good team. Remember, so many teams wanted to take Francesco Fabregas after an impressive debut season with Como. It guided them to a 10th place finish on the Italian Serie A table, and among those was the Red Bull Group, who were interested in his services. Bayer Leverkusen were interested before they appointed Erik ten Hag. Then Inter Milan had conversations with him before they appointed Christian Chivu. Now Christian Chivu joined Inter Milan from Parma, and Parma replaced Christian Chivu with Arsenal's second assistant coach in Carlos Cuesta. Only 29 years of age, by the way, but he has that bit of experience, having worked at Juventus and Atletico de Madrid. He's a Spanish international, Carlos Cuesta. Then this is the latest. in as far as the transfer gossip is concerned and speculation. Napoli are back in for Manchester United and Argentine winger Alejandro Garnacho, 21 years of age, and hope they can sign the 21-year-old for £45 million. That's according to the Mirror. However, I do think Napoli will prioritize completing a deal for Darwin Núñez before they set their attention on signing a winger. Then Man United remain optimistic of agreeing a deal to sign Brentford and Cameroon striker Bryan Mbeumo in time for the forward to be part of their pre-season tour to the United States. We talked about that. That's according to Sky Sports. While Arsenal's negotiations for 27-year-old Sporting and Sweden striker Victor Gyökeres have stalled over a difference of opinion in overall value and terms. That's according to the Independent. Now, first of all, Arsenal's first bid for Victor Gyökeres was 65 million euros plus 5 million euros in expected add-ons. Now, that was, I think, rejected, and then they went to 65 million euros as guaranteed fees plus 5 million euros in achievable add-ons, like easily achievable, and then plus another 10 in sort of a bit ambiguous add-ons. So, and yet, Sporting Lisbon want a guaranteed fee of 70 million euros plus 10 million euros in expected add-ons. And then a payment structure is also still an issue. They are yet to agree to all those terms, but they are hoping that they could reach a deal because Mikel Arteta wants that deal done and dusted before they go out for their pre-season tour. Remember, they are going to Asia. They are going to go to Malaysia, I think, where they will play 2 games against AC Milan and Newcastle, and then they will go to Hong Kong, where they will play a game against Tottenham Hotspur before returning to the UK, where they will play Athletic Bilbao in the Emirates Cup. I do not remember who the other opponent will be, but they are going to be playing the Emirates Cup this summer as well. Then Newcastle United have rejected a third bid from Leeds United for 27-year-old England midfielder Sean Longstaff. That's according to Northern Echo, while Al Hilal want RB Leipzig and Slovenian forward Benjamin Sesko, who is also a target for Arsenal. The Saudi Pro League side are also interested in Crystal Palace forward Joan Felipe Mateta. That's 28 years of age. Joan Felipe Mateta scored 14 goals in the Premier League last season and provided, I think, was it 5 assists? I stand to be corrected, but at least I know for a fact it was 14 goals because the season before that he scored 16. Then Aston Villa and Brighton are following highly rated Benin attacking midfielder Randolph Aloko. Aloko, 18 years of age, from Croatian side NK Hushto Sija. Yes, that's according to Mail. Then Manchester United are considering selling England winger Jadon Sancho for a significantly lower transfer fee. That's according to Disney Sport. Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace are among Premier League teams considering signing Manchester City and England under 21 midfielder James McAtee, only 22 years of age this summer. Then also Nottingham Forest are interested in signing Belgian international Johan Bakayoko as a replacement for Anthony Elanga. Yes, so keep your eyes peeled to that situation. Then Liverpool could join Arsenal in the race to sign Real Madrid and Brazilian Rodrigo Goes. We've spoken about that if Luis Diaz does leave the club, while Portuguese winger Chiquinho at 25 has left Wolves to join Alveca in Portugal on a permanent deal with the Premier League side, club maintaining a 40% sell-on clause there. Then Brighton are open to loaning a Republic of Ireland striker Ivan Ferguson to Roma, but the club are yet to receive a proposal for the 20-year-old. I mean, 2 seasons ago, Ivan Ferguson was a hot cake, valued at about £80 million, and I was telling people he is not worth £80 million. Do not take that bait. And here we are today. Last season, for the second part of the season, he spent that on loan away to West Ham. It did not work out clearly. Now AC Roma are interested. Of course, his career has been troubled by injuries, and he hopes he can get a new home where he can get to revive his career. but let's hope for the best for him. Otherwise, things are not really looking pretty. But basically, that's the gist of transfers. Arsenal willing to listen to offers for Fabio Vieira, who is expected to return to training uh, in pre-season with the club. Of course, the likes of Albert Sambila Konga are some of the other players that the club want to move on. He did report back to training at London Colony. For those of you that have been able to capture, to have a look at those images, then which other player have I not talked about? I feel there's a player that I wanted to tell you about before we sign off today. But yes, Real Madrid. Yes, Real Madrid are closing in on Alvaro Carreras. That's the left back from Benfica, and it is expected that Rafael Obrado will join Benfica. In the opposite direction from Real Madrid. So we do expect that. Then Xabi Alonso. Speaking about Rodrigo Goes, this is only 27 seconds ago, according to Fabrizio Romano, saying, I didn't play Rodrigo for a technical decision. We thought we would be better off with other players. It's not about his future. That's Xabi Alonso. But I mean, those are the kinds of statements that managers make. But I think Rodrigo Goes could be on his way out of Real Madrid this summer, and we can only wait to see where his future lies beyond the Santiago Bernabeu. So we will be keeping our eyes peeled to that situation and see where everything will look at the end of July. Remember, the transfer window goes on until the 31st of August, so it's still a very long summer. Then this was from Ben Jacobs trying to give an update on the Sporting situation on Victor Gyökeres. He said Arsenal's last formal talks with Sporting for Victor Gyökeres took place on Sunday. Understand as team price is 70 million euros, which we indicated to you, plus 10 million euros was quoted for add-ons. A deal remains closed, but Sporting will not accept the 65 million euro fixed fee. And by the way, Arsenal fans have been sort of, I don't want to call it a rant online, but they've been really screaming for Arsenal, saying, I mean, why instead of pursuing Noni Madueke, just add on the 5 million euros and get the job, get everything done with Sporting Lisbon, because the player wants to play. Excuse me. So the player wants to join. Why are you dragging your feet? Now, I'm inclined to believe that it's not just about, add on the 5 million euros and then you have a deal. That will only be, sort of part of the negotiation. And maybe Arsenal are thinking, if we are willing to pay 70 million euros and 10 million euros in expected add-ons, then why? Maybe it affects their other transfer business because they are still in the market for other players. But maybe they're thinking to themselves, if we have this player, let's say as a primary target, player X, and then he's valued, let's say at 90 million euros. Please do not assume we're talking about Benjamin Sesko. If the only difference between him and Gyökeres is 10 million euros, then maybe we should reconsider our options. But let's wait and see. That's just food for thought. It's me thinking out loud on that situation. So, and sort of that's what is really frustrating Arsenal fans. So, for example, he is one of the adherent Arsenal fans called Webist. He says, walked out of Sesko negotiations because they asked for 90 million euros. Can't close the Victor Gyökeres deal because of 5 million euro difference. Then can't pay Eze's release clause for 77 million euros, but you have 60 million euros to offer Chelsea for a player we can do without. Come on, make it make sense. Again, that's Arsenal fans. And again, I do not want to really disagree with them, because if your priority signing is a striker this summer, and of course you need a backup for Bukayo Saka, but essentially the priority is a striker, why are you not paying High Space Explorers, good evening. Why are you not paying the 5 extra for your primary target, who is a striker, instead of making it in a bid for Noni Madueke? I mean, you could as well go for Malik Fofana from Olympic Lyon, who could cost a bit lower. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how things will, transpose in that direction. In as far as Arsenal's pursuits go, I'm inclined to believe. I'm inclined to believe that Arsenal will find a way to get all their business done. It's just Andrea Butter not taking, not wanting to be bullied in the transfer window. I mean, he has more than 13 years of experience, so we can hardly educate him about doing transfers. So really, I wouldn't be one of those two. And that's why when it comes to players like Noni Madueke, usually as I make my submissions or give my honest opinions, I usually end with a conclusion to say that, look, guys, as much as we can speak about these things, these players assess the situations. There are people, there are experts in those respective clubs that are employed to look at data, to look at certain things and make judgments and offer the club options to say, okay, if we want a player in this position, here are options. This is option A, this is B, this is C, this is D. And in that kind of order, the club maybe moves based on that. So while we have all these options, opinions, and maybe we can be proved right in the long run, or we could be proved wrong, let's trust that these clubs work with experts. Do they get it wrong? More often than they care to admit. Do we get it wrong? More often than we care to admit it to ourselves as well. So that's the situation there. So really, that's the thing regarding those. Anyways, guys, it's 1 hour and 22 minutes into tonight's broadcast. So allow me to send my special shout outs to Cedric, who was earlier on here with us from France. Mariam Nalumansi, a Liverpool fan. Peter Parker, thank you so much for all your engagement, as well as Cedric, as well as Nalumansi. Thank you so much, Alan Sesk from, I don't know, I thought you're from Benin. Then MD Ashik, thank you so much as well. Kickboxing, thank you so much as well. Dangovan DK, thank you so much for joining us tonight as well. It was a pleasure having you on the broadcast. Mr. Jewish or Jewish. I mean, I found that name interesting, really, Jewish. The reason as why I found it interesting, in Uganda we have a former media personality. He was a big radio presenter, and he moved into the thing of more like online dating. He connects people to partners, and he normally calls them Jewish, big Jewish. So that's why I found it a bit funny. So thank you so much, Jewish, for being with us for the purposes of today's broadcast. Space Explorers, it's been a pleasure doing this with you as well. But before I sign out, guys, allow me to remind you that in case you are interested in learning some digital skills like cybersecurity, coding, and web design, then do not hesitate to check out our friends at Ebo State, who do offer in-person and online training sessions, and they do help their trainees find jobs in the dynamic digital world upon completion of their trainings. So I will leave the link down in the description so that you can check them out after this particular broadcast. But it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Thank you so much for those that have tuned in. Thank you so much to all those that like the broadcast. Thank you so much to those that are engaged with us by submitting your views, your opinions. Oh, sorry. There's somebody who I did not mention. Nahil Brahma. Sorry, Nahil Bamraha, something like that. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. It's a bit tricky for me, but I think it's okay. It's Nahal Bamrama. Sorry, Nahal Bamraha. Yes, Nahal Bamraha. Yes, he said Mbappe, Vinicius, and Garcia will never work. Will never work. They should have played Mbappe and Garcia front two and Ada then Bellingham, Valverde, Chouameni, Diamond, and Carvajal at right back. I mean, Carvajal did return from a very long-term injury last season, so he's not maybe the most fit player there. Because guys, let's not forget, sometimes who is chosen to start goes beyond their own performances in training. Sometimes it has to do with full fitness. So sometimes the players that we wish would have started particular games are sometimes not fully match fit. So that's why they get to come off the bench. But I do not want to disagree with you. As well, but I think we ought to give this partnership a bit of a chance and see how it will work out. But like I said, overall, this tournament has been for Xabi Alonso to try out different formats and see how he will be assembling his team for the new season in the Spanish La Liga and in the UEFA Champions League and any other competitions that Real Madrid will be obviously involved in. So let's not forget that. So I think we will have an El Clasico between Real Madrid and Barcelona for the Super Copa Hispana because Barcelona won the domestic treble in the Super Copa Hispana, the Copa del Rey, and the Spanish La Liga, and Real Madrid came second on the La Liga table. So that would be my expectation. Because here, back at home, Vipers Sports Club won the Star Times Uganda Premier League, and they also won the Uganda Cup. So at the FIFA Super Cup, they will be playing the second team or that finished second on the league table. Then, of course, that's the expectation. In the Premier League, Crystal Palace will play Liverpool. That's the weekend before the opener. That's the Sunday before 15th August for the curtain riser of the Premier League. So, anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you so much for your engagement. Let's do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, that's around 9 a.m. If so God permits us to. If I do not turn up, guys, please understand. Yesterday it was due to power. We had a power blackout. Then this morning, while we were here, our broadcast was interrupted by an internet disconnection, just pretty much like we did witness at some point during the course of this broadcast. So kindly do bear with me, and thank you for bearing with me, for those that do stay with me even when I get some of those disruptions. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Let's meet again tomorrow morning and in the evening, and we'll digest that game a little more between PSG that they've just beaten up against Real Madrid by 4 goals to 0, as well as more on the transfers and speculation and how we do think things will shape. Of course, most of the teams are back for their preseason. They've started their trainings. Arsenal back, Manchester United are back. We did see Matthias Cunha, of course, will be donning the shirt 10 at Man United. They're back in their training. Diego Leon, who joined Manchester United, also recently he's a left wing back. I think he was signed in January. He's also part of that training. I've seen a whole host of players. Of course, those that may arrive late are those that have been permitted to stay outside longer. Then we have that composition of 5 players. For now, Marcus Rashford is also back at Manchester United at training, although he's not training with the rest of the first team squad apparently. So let's wait and see how things will transpire in those respects. But in the morning, we'll be revisiting, the action from tonight in regards to try and make a little more sense of it and look at what the statistics detail us in as far as the game was concerned. I will get look a little more in depth about some of those transfer news, about Arsenal's bid for Noni Madueke, what it means for their other transfer targets, because we all know they are interested in signing Ebeleche Eze, Victor Gyökeres, Rodrigo Goes. I mean, all those players that they are interested in bringing in. Then there's a situation regarding Ethan Nwaneri. Then at Manchester United, we spoke about their striking situation the other day, and they are considering making moves for Oli Watkins as a primary target. There's now talk of Dusan Vlahovic in a swap deal for Jadon Sancho. There's talk of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who is a free agent from Everton. There's talk of Moises Kean from Fiorentina, scored 19 goals last campaign. There's talk of Hugo Ekitike, who is also a target for Chelsea and Liverpool, and all those kinds of things. So we'll get to revisit them perhaps in the morning. I'll be looking forward to you joining me and for your engagement. Otherwise, allow me to wish you a wonderful rest of the night. Thank you so much. I can't say thank you enough, but it's been a pleasure for doing this for the last 1.5 hours with you. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the night. Bye bye.